Mars, a mysterious planet with lots of history and mythology. And now we want to go back to Mars. Like, or wait, were we ever there? Well, it looks like it. Wait till I show you these incredible structures on Mars that look artificial. Now, we can't confirm 100% that they're artificial, but I'll tell you what, when you look at these images compared to other satellite imagery here on planet Earth, they look very similar, sometimes almost identical. And it really makes you question, did our ancestors come from Mars? Did some of our ancestors come from Mars? I think so. I think that there's definitely a possibility. We're going to look into the data. We're also going to look at this. Okay, so I just found an image from one of the Mars reconnaissance vessels that, what's the name of it? Oh, shoot. What is it called here? Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, so we're going to look at this image and you tell me what you see. Do you see a pyramid and structures, or do you just see natural geology? Well, let's pull it up right now. Very interesting. And how the heck are you doing? I hope you're having a beautiful day today. It's gorgeous out here in southern Colorado, but last I checked, it was full. So this is a screenshot of the image. We're going to look at the original images in a moment, but I just wanted to show you this screenshot because to me, it looks like it could potentially be some type of city structure. You can see what appears to be straight edges, possibly the wall surrounding the city. And then in the center there, you see what looks kind of like a pyramid, quite a bit like a pyramid. And then we're also going to take a look at another anomaly that was picked up by a HiRISE satellite. This is actually from one of the rovers on the ground, but we're going to look at some HiRISE imagery that appears to show this massive exclamation point that looks very similar to the tombs that have been scattered across Japan, Korea, as well as the Middle East. So we got a lot to talk about. What are you up to today? You having a nice day so far? I did want to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Noble Gold Investments. So I don't know if you've got a 401 or an IRA. If you've got a 401, you probably think that it's safe and that it's growing and that it'll be enough for your retirement. Now, the question is, what if it's not? Here's the truth. Your 401k was never designed to make you wealthy. It was created in a corporate boardroom to shift retirement costs and investment risk onto you. Designed to keep your money trapped, exposed to Wall Street crashes, inflation, and uncertainty you can't control until now. Americans are taking back control by turning to real assets like gold and silver. Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands protect their future by converting part of their retirement savings into physical gold. Talk to Noble Gold today and learn how safe and easy it is to roll over your 401k into a tax-advantaged gold IRA without penalties or headaches. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com today to get your free wealth protection kit, including a step-by-step guide to get started. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. It's time to get your money out of the danger zone and into something real. Bonus offer. Get rewarded for getting started. Open a qualified account at noblegoldinvestments.com and they will send you 2 5-ounce solid silver America the Beautiful coins absolutely free. So that's 10 ounces of silver, 2 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful coins absolutely free to add to your collection. That's www.noblegoldinvestments.com. Let them know Rex from Leap Project sent you. All right, let's get into this, shall we? So the first image, let's go back and take a look at the screenshot. Then we're going to look at the original footage from the Gigapan. This is the image in question here. As you can see, once again, it looks like there's remnants or remains of a solid wall. And behind that wall, potentially a pyramid structure, 1 or 2. That pyramid, the way that it's further up than it is wide, it reminds me of some of the pyramids that you see in Sudan. Very interesting. Let's go to the Gigapan image now. Let's see if we can pull that up. Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. All right. So this is from mars.nasa.gov. These are the Curiosity raw images. And then what happened was, well, this is actually Sidonia. So just to kind of point this out real quick, we did a podcast on this the other day. If you look at the sacred geometry and the tetrahedral geometry of Sidonia, it does make it even more compelling that it is an artificial face, as you can see right here, not just pareidolia, as well as these other structures that appear to be like a five-sided pyramid, a dome, the cliff, which is a very straight line, and the way that that links up close to the crater, and then Avebury in England, the city system out there, you can overlap the two almost perfectly. So I did a podcast on that previously. But this is the gigapan. So this is the image or collection of images from the Curiosity rover that have been compiled together. This is a massive image, over 4 gigapixels, and it was added on the 10th of August of last year. So if you scroll through this image, you have to know where to look, and you have to go all the way over here in the background, over the mesa. Boom, right there. Check it out. Right there. This is the image. So the question is, if it is artificial, what happened? Where'd everybody go? And how long ago was it destroyed? We can go to the screenshot here. We'll pull this up. Let's take a look at the screenshot again. Oops. Then I'm going to show you another image, which is even higher resolution. So here it is. Very interesting anomaly. I'm not convinced either way, but I definitely think it's worth looking into more. And if we look at some of these other images here, pull up another one. Right here. Okay, so this person took certain locations with this gigapixel imagery, this massive collection, like, what is it, 4 gigapixels, as I said a minute ago. And they're trying to take certain pieces in these images and question what they are. Like this right here, to me, this just looks like a really cool boulder. But this guy's like, what if it's a skull? What if it's the potential to be a skull? Not buying it. Still pretty cool. But over here is where it gets interesting. Right over here. That is an interesting anomaly right there. Now, this right here is from the University of Arizona. This is the HiRISE imagery, excellent satellite images of Mars. And this one's titled the exclamation mark on Mars. Here's the exact number. So if you want to look this up yourself, do your own research. Let's take a look at this. Let's go look at the black and white image. So what do you think about this? Very interesting. And it's not an exclamation point, but it kind of looks like it. It also kind of looks like a keyhole. Looks like a keyhole. Well, there are thousands of these keyhole-shaped tombs in the Korean peninsula alone. So there's about 30,000 keyhole-shaped tombs, or Kofun. About 5,000 can still be visited, and they've been discovered over a vast area from Kyushu to Honshu. Now, there's also very interesting anomalies that look like these keyhole tombs that have been discovered in and around Saudi Arabia, places in the Middle East. So it's not just the geological areas of Korea and the Korean Peninsula. It's all over. And these tombs, like, look at this. The University of Western Australia, they've also discovered Northwest Arabia in the Middle Bronze Age built funerary avenues, hundreds of these things. Look at that. So this is Mars. This is the States. Mars, or I should say Middle East. This is the Middle East. Planet Earth. Planet Earth, ladies and gentlemen. Let's read up on this just a little bit. Dr. Matthew Dalton from UWA's School of Humanities is lead author of the findings published in the Journal of Holocene. Funerary avenues were the major highway networks of their day and show that the populations living in the Arabian Peninsula 4,500 years ago was far more socially and economically connected to one another than we previously thought, Dr. Dalton said. The UWA team, working under the Royal Commission for AIUIA, used satellite imagery, helicopter-based aerial photography, ground survey, and excavation to locate and analyze the funerary avenues. The team located avenues of an area of 160,000 square kilometers with more than 17,800 tailed pendant tombs recorded in their primary study areas of AIUIA and Khaybar counties in Saudi Arabia, of which around 11,000 formed part of funerary avenues. It's incredible. This is Japan. It's the earliest large keyhole shape that they have discovered in recent years, and it's Hashihaka Kofun. Miller also discussed current cultural expressions of the structures during Thursday's special presentation. So these burial mounds look almost identical to what we're looking at over here on Mars. Fascinating. Let's see if we can get a color image here. Boom. Let's go back and look at this one. So these ones are in the Sahara Desert, right here. In the middle of the Sahara Desert, we have more of these strange exclamation point anomalies. And I have to verify that I'm a human. So it takes just a moment to verify humanity. Some have designs that look like a keyhole. So they're known as keyhole tombs. Since they're facing the sunrise, these tombs were also considered as places for worship of the sun. How interesting is that? The path of the sun. Fascinating. Kofun, ancient burial mounds, megalithic tombs in Northeast Asia. Look at this. It's almost a perfect match. Question is, how old are these structures on Mars? They could be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years old, potentially. I think this is more evidence of a highly advanced civilization on Mars. And so I started to do the research. Again, this is discussing the Mars ocean theory about how a third of the surface of Mars was actually covered in oceans years and years ago, many, many years ago. Now it's under the dirt. Water's still there. There's tons of water on Mars. Mars is a lot smaller than Earth, and the amount of water on Mars could actually be more than on Earth. So if we could figure out a way to terraform the planet and bring it back to its glory, it would be remarkable. Imagine the ancient civilization and technologies there. There's probably highly advanced technologies buried under the sand of time on Mars. Now, if you look into the Watchers, so the Watchers, I'm fascinated with the story of the Watchers, the book of Enoch, and I have a completely different interpretation of the Watchers than what most people do, especially a lot of the religious scholars. And that's okay. That's okay. They could be right. They could be wrong. I could be right. I could be right. So in the books of Enoch, the first books of Enoch, they devote the book devotes its attention to the fall of the watchers. The second book of Enoch addresses the watchers who are in fifth heaven, where the fall took place. The third book of Enoch gives attention to the unfallen watchers. But this is interesting. Notice how it references the fifth heaven. The fifth heaven. What do they mean by that? Is that like the fifth dimension? Is that another planetary body and it's referred to as the fifth heaven because that's the way that it was written out through religious purposes, scriptures, etc. That's what they understood at the time. That's the way it was translated. But it wasn't actually the fifth heaven unless you consider the fifth heaven another planet. Well, what if that fifth planet was Mars? So, well, like Mars is actually the fourth planet from the sun. So if you included the sun as the first heaven, you would have the sun, which would be the first heaven. Mercury would be the second. Venus or Earth would be the third. And then Mars would be the fourth. And then there's possibility that there could have been another planetary body before it became the asteroid belt. Tiamat, it's been referred to before as in like the Enuma Elish. But there's also a planet called Ceres, which is a dwarf planet that's in between Mars and Jupiter, which would actually make it the fifth object now if you were to consider Mercury, Mars, Earth, Venus. So let's take a look at this real quick. What is this? That ain't freaking. There we go. There we go. Okay. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. 1, 2, 3, 4. If there was another planet in between here at the time, or if Ceres, or if you consider Sun the first heaven, Mercury the second, Venus the third, Earth the fourth, and Mars the fifth. Mars, the fifth heaven. Interesting. So if Mars was the fifth heaven where the fall took place, that would make sense. Oh, I get it now. They're referring to a civilization that went from Mars to Earth. And then when they came to Earth, they fell in love with Earth women. They colonized the planet. They built their dynasties. And many of these ancient megaliths that we can't duplicate today, and we have ridiculous stories on how they were created. Well, if you have a highly advanced civilization showing up from another planet, they would have the technology to build some of these megaliths. The fifth heaven. That makes sense to me. That's either Mars. I think that's Mars. I think they're referring to the fifth heaven as Mars personally, but that's my working theory right now. The use of the term watchers is common in the book of Enoch. The book of the watchers occurs in the Aramaic fragments with the phrase Erin we Kadeshin, watchers and holy ones, a reference to Aramaic Daniel. The Aramaic Erin, watchers, is rendered as angel, Greek angelos, Coptic malah, and the Greek and Ethiopian translations, although the usual Aramaic term for angel, malaka, does not occur in Aramaic Enoch. Now, what's interesting about this, as I was doing some research on the referencing of the names of the watchers, or at least the way that the watchers are referenced, there's a, what was it? Not a Gigi, but Grigori. Grigori. They're referred to in Slavic as Grigori. Grigori. I think of the Agigi, the Grigori, the Agigi. That's what I started to think of immediately. But listen to this. The Slavic word Grigori used in the book is a transcription of the Greek word egregori, meaning wakeful. The Hebrew equivalent is meaning waking, awake. Chapter 18 presents the Gregori as countless soldiers of human appearance, their size being greater than that of great giants. So they're huge, they're massive. Also, the Bible presents Gregori or watchers as angelic beings who initially served God but later fell into sin by corrupting humanity through forbidden unions with mortal women, resulting in their eventual judgment. So the Gregori or watchers, certain watchers, not all of them, but some of the watchers, they're described as falling to heaven. I think it was a third of them or 200 of them. They made a pact and they said, look, we're committing, what we're doing here is going to excommunicate us, but we all need to come together and decide if we're going to do it or not. So they decided to do it. And I think that there were bloodlines created after that. And then what's referred to as the Nephilim. So notice Gregori, and Gregori meaning rebellion of God, or the Gregori are referred to sometimes as rebelling against God. Gregori. Well, what about the Agigi? The Agigi are the mythological figures of heaven in the mythology of Mesopotamia, though sometimes synonymous with the term Anunnaki. In the Atrahasis myth, the Agigi were the younger beings who were servants of the Anunnaki until they rebelled and were replaced by the creation of humans. So they did the same thing if you look at it as rebelling against their superiors or superior. They rebel against Enlil. Enlil is often referred to in ancient scriptures and texts and mythologies also as one of the top three gods in the Sumerian pantheon. You have Anu, Enki, and Enlil. Enlil is often associated with the wind. But Enlil in these stories was a part of the council that decided to flood the earth, and it was Enki or Ea that decided to warn Ziusudra. I think it was Ziusudra. Basically, another name for Noah, but it's a very similar story. So Ea is the one that warns of a flood so that the ark would be built, and it was Enlil that decided to help. It was Enlil, amongst others, that decided to flood the earth. So if we take out a lot of the extras and we just look at the base storyline here, like the actual root of the story about how these beings rebel against their master, the two are very similar, very, very similar. So I wonder if certain Agigi would also be referenced as, where were we? The Gregori and Agigi. Could they be the same group of beings? Very possible. And it makes sense when you think about the Mars, like how fascinated certain scientists and billionaires are with Mars, because if we could get back to Mars, imagine the technologies that we would find. Imagine the people that we would meet. Now, in that remote viewing session that was done in 1984, where that file was then given to the CIA and the CIA eventually declassified the file, this remote viewer goes into Mars, into the city of Sidonia. He sees a highly advanced race. He then jumps about 1 million years in the future. A major cataclysm wipes out Mars, the majority of Mars on the outskirts. But inside, under the surface of Mars, there are these beings that are living in these basically cryogenic chambers, waiting for their people to come back because there are people left looking for another place to live. It described these people, this civilization, as very tall, very large, slender, very old, ancient, brilliant, very similar to what we think about the Anunnaki. And then when we read about the Nephilim. So it appears that these stories are describing events that took place a long, long time ago, and through the years they get translated into certain religious beliefs. But if you were to take the religion out of it and look at it as documenting certain events that took place, it also makes sense. Very incredible. This is fascinating information. So the Ajiji, the Grigori, the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, these tombs, thousands of these tombs in Japan and Korea and the Middle East. And then we find evidence of these tombs on Mars. It's incredible. This is so cool. So I don't know what you think about all this, but I find it fascinating. And I want to dive more into the anomalies of Mars. I used to be really, really into it. Like 15 years ago, I spent tons of time researching Mars and the moon. And I found a plethora of potential anomalies that aren't even really on the web that much unless you kind of go to the original sources. But this is what we were talking about. If you're just joining us, this specific screenshot here is a screenshot taken from a gigapan image, which is a combination of these images from the Viking, which, dang it, I keep forgetting. Why the hell do I keep forgetting the name of this thing? It was the Curiosity rover, the Curiosity rover. So we can go back and take a look at that image real quick. Pull it up. This is it right here. So you zoom out. This is the gigapan image. You can see it goes, I mean, it's extensive. The way that they put all this together, I think they did a really good job. Here's all the images they put together. So 4258 through 4267, Mars imaging here. And we're all the way back up here in this corner, over here where this image is. So cool. And then we were looking at this guy right here, the exclamation point tomb, which looks very similar to these thousands of tombs found in and around the Korean Peninsula. Kofun. But this one's on Mars. This is the website, Arizona University, HiRISE. This is the number right here. And then you can look at it either color, black and white. There's some great images here. I wonder if this one will pull up. I'm just making it. All right. So cool. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a beautiful day. Hit the bell for all notifications. I'll see you later. Be excellent to each other and be the change you want to see. Oh, yeah. And you can download the podcast for free on Podbean. We do have exclusive content over on our Patreon page where we talk about certain things. So hope to see you on Patreon and download the audio podcast for free on Podbean. Be the change you want to see.